My name is Pallab Chatterjee. I'm Chairman and CEO of Symphony RetailAI. Thank you for coming to this session. We'll talk today about Customer 360. How can you actually get to know your customers really well, and what it means to actually use artificial intelligence to get customers to buy more of your products, come to the channels and stores that you actually want them to come to. So to introduce ourselves, we are dedicated as a company to customer intelligence, and we actually create and provide for you AI solutions for helping you grow your business. So today I'll talk to you a little bit about what are the major trends that we're seeing in terms of customer behavior on what actually they're buying and where they're buying. A little bit about the competition that actually you're facing both as brands as well as retailers, and go take you through some really exciting developments in the world of artificial intelligence that we think are able to make groundbreaking ability for you to do things that you couldn't do before. So to introduce ourselves, we've been in business for 25 years. The name Symphony RetailAI is new. We rebranded ourselves earlier this year. We've actually been working on AI solutions over the last 2 years, so we felt like we actually now had the actual solutions and the ability to give you capabilities that deserve the name AI, and we put AI in retail. We've been working with hundreds of retailers and hundreds of suppliers, as you see here, across 70 countries. The top 15 retailers out of 25 are our clients. The key thing that we have today is that we are working with about $350 billion of grocery retail revenue data across 175 million households, 3 billion SKUs, and 250,000 stores. Why is this important for us? Artificial intelligence is actually really useful as long as you can have the data to do the analysis with. And we believe that the kind of data we have, this massive data, has been really the way that we've actually been able to build AI models. So with that, let's talk a little bit about what we see in the marketplace from both the major trends of customers and the major competition that is facing this industry here. The first part of what we actually have been seeing is that there's no big mystery to it. The growth of online and offline has created a huge opportunity for the customer to choose which channel they want to buy from, or a combination of the two channels. So multi-channel and convenient shopping is a major part of what every customer that you have has their own choice for. The second thing, which is also a very interesting statistics, and it looks like it's true across the world, is that in today's world, the dual income families are becoming the norm. Even in Singapore, it looks like it's about 65% of the households are dual income. And what comes out of dual income, as I'll show you, is a concept we call time starvation. Just the spouses do not have the time or the inclination to actually cook a meal, which has big implications into the shopping habits of the customers. We'll talk about that. Now, Amazon as well as Alibaba have really created a massive online presence that's carving out what used to be the center store in a lot of the supermarkets. And of course, in many parts of the world, the discounters are actually creating a big disruption in the way food retailers and consumer packaged goods companies are being able to work. So with this, then what do we see is the big trend here? Well, dual income families want convenience and spontaneity. So here's some data out of the US, similar data born out of the Europeans as well. And we did some quick checks in Singapore, and a lot of this data is valid here as well. If you ask people what they want to have, what they're going to have for dinner at lunchtime, 83% of the people will say they don't know. 50% of the people almost are making the decision on what they have dinner about an hour or so before dinner. And about 30% of them consume whatever they can find for dinner. Why is this important? Well, it's important because where did the food come from that they're actually having for dinner? When the decisions are made 1 hour or more prior to the dinner, 80% of that food and the ingredients come from the food retailer. When it's less than 1 hour for dinner, you see a big drop in where the food comes from the retailer versus the food comes from restaurant or carry-out delivery service. So the fastest growing part of the food network in many of the countries today, especially, if you look at it, even in Singapore, it looks like the food delivery business is growing at 20% plus. Now, those of you who are part of the consumer goods ecosystem, are the retailer ecosystem, would you not like to have 20% growth for yourselves? Well, that's not happening today. So clearly this trend is actually creating some headwinds on how people shop and what people actually do. So one of the big revelations out of this particular analysis is that 76% of the customers are buying prepared foods instead of cooking dinner. It has a big implication in terms of what's happening to large baskets, what's happening to big pantry loading trips, which were the mainstay of most of the grocery retailers. So when I turn from here to say, look, that's the big customer trend, what's happening in terms of competition? Well, in Amazon, case of Amazon around the world, in Alibaba in this part of the world, one of the key things that is actually being understood is that Amazon is a technology company. It's a technology company that happens to be in retail, not a retailer or a manufacturer using technology. What is the consequence of that? The consequence of that is that there is an enormous amount of information and data that Amazon, Alibaba, and the big e-commerce retailers have on customer experience, what they've actually been looking at, what they have bought, what they could be buying. And they've been using artificial intelligence to continue to recommend to each customer products that they think the customer should buy, and the growth of dependence of customers on ratings and reviews of peers instead of advertising and messaging from brands has continued to grow. So clearly, they've actually mastered the use of artificial intelligence and are using that to continue to take away business from the in-store retailers. The other thing is very important to understand about Amazon is that they're an innovation machine. They've actually continued to innovate, continued to find things that they think they can actually bring to their customers. And if you look at the US, Amazon Prime members are up to about 100 million today, and they're very sticky because continuously we are seeing that Amazon will continue to give away things to keep them loyal coming back to Amazon. So that's one side of the problem that we have to deal with respect to these online retailers. The other side is the discounters, because most people thought discounters are just price. Just, they bring you something that is lower price. They do. But they've actually created some very interesting expertise. The number one expertise that they've created is they're basically able to do product curation. In today's time-starved world, putting a customer in front of a shelf with 70 or 80 choices, where they actually have to find something out of that shelf, is less desirable than getting to a shelf that actually has maybe 15 or 20 choices, expertly curated, so that they're actually being able to find something that they really would like. Clearly, efficiency is a big deal in these kinds of retailers, and The next thing that they're actually making a very big deal about is local and regional farmers and supplies. Local is actually a big draw in terms of what people actually want to buy right now. And they're at about 90% private labels, so those of you who are actually competing with national brands or international brands, that's a big competition there. So when you look at the kind of things that they're being good at, clearly the dollars per basket is the comparison that I show here is why people think they want to go buy there. It's $17 versus $10 in the same basket. But the part that is actually surprising, this is a study that was done by USA Today, is that Aldi ranked equal or better in blind taste tests on the items in that basket, which means that they're actually not only providing the lower cost, but they're actually providing, a food experience that is equal to or better than national brands, which is a big, mark of danger that we have to be able to address. So when you put it all together, we have both the time and buying habits changing in the customer, the diversity of the lower, millennials and other people who are, completely different in terms of their expectations. There are more channel choices of the customer. Technology is actually playing a much bigger role in what they actually are, using to make the decision of when to buy and where to buy, and managing operational costs. In this kind of a backdrop, we end up looking at the big trend here. The big baskets are coming down. That's about 65 to 70% of a supermarket revenue is big baskets. They're coming down 3 to 4% a year and accelerating. Online is growing somewhere between 14 and 24%. And quick trips are increasing instead of the large basket trips. Unfortunately, not all quick trips are going to the supermarkets or the bigger stores. Convenience, small format stores seem to be the choice for the customers to go to. So if you put it all together here now, what should we be able to do and what should we be able to actually learn about customers so that you can actually bring them back to your stores or make them loyal to your brands? We call this Customer 360 Intelligence. For a long time, all of you have really understood purchase behavior of customers, demographics of customers, attitudes of customers, psychographics of customers. We think that the time has now come to really understand what the total picture looks like for a customer in terms of how they behave online, how they behave in store, how they make decisions about what products they want to buy, where they want to buy. What do you need to do to make this particular customer a net promoter of your brand or a net promoter of your store? How much of the money are you actually getting? What are their interests? How can you get them to really be a part of what you want them to be? So this is our definition of Customer 360. And we've been able to actually put together a variety of different data sources to be able to do what we call trade area competition intelligence. That is, by zip codes, what is their behavior? We've created what we call a proximity model, and the proximity model actually is based on drive time between different stores that they have access to and the population density. We've actually understood what the competitive intensity would be, and this competitive intensity is important both if you're a retailer and if you're a brand, because if you're going to be able to be spending trade promotion dollars, you need to know where to address the trade promotion dollars so that you actually get the most out of your money. And therefore, how do you actually balance between where people want to shop, how much time they're spending in a particular store, how much time they're spending in competitive stores, and what their trip patterns are. So this is one part of what we actually call Customer 360 Intelligence. The other part is a view of trade area of moving purchases from in-store to online. This is what actual different SKUs that were actually bought in-store and now bought online, and why? So this is another area where we believe the Customer 360 model really should tell you how to look at this. And the kinds of panels that are available today for us and other people here that really include online and in-store purchases have superseded what used to be the industry standard home scan panels from Nielsen and IRI. So with that, if you understand that much about the customer, if you have the data, what should you do about it? So here's what we are actually introducing to you about use of artificial intelligence to be able to actually make decisions that are much more informed and much more predictive. Now, artificial intelligence is something that is being talked about over and over again, and everybody actually says that they've heard about AI. They sort of, know roughly what it is. But I'm going to propose to you a new definition of artificial intelligence, or a simple definition of artificial intelligence. Today's analytics that you have and have been using for the last 20 or 30 years essentially takes data and gives you a dashboard of what happened, right? What happened? What did sales do? What was bought? When you come to the first version of artificial intelligence, which is called machine learning, in machine learning, what we're actually doing is we're providing a continuous understanding of patterns of data to be able to answer the next question. Why did it happen? Why did it happen allows you to actually get some insights in prognosis of what you should know in terms of making decisions what to do. The one that is the most exciting is called deep learning, in which case you actually have the model to have the artificial intelligence model reason with what happened and why it happened, and answer the next question, which is what should you do about it? Today, if you only use analytics, you're depending on analysts in your own organization to mine that information, to answer the why it happened question, and manually making the decision of what you should do about it. So artificial intelligence here is allowing you to actually be able to give you the recommendations by looking at millions of combinations of things about what you should do about it. So to start off with this, we actually created a virtual analyst, which we call Cindy, for conversational insights and decision engine. We call it the Alexa of merchants, operations, and supply chains. How many of you people use Alexa or Google? A lot of people do that, right, at home? You can actually ask a question, you get some answers, you get different skills. So Cindy actually is a self-learning analyst, virtual analyst that actually understands natural language, gives you instant AI-based answers, and gives you some immersive visualization of the answer. So let's talk about tell you what Cindy actually does.
Okay, Cindy, show me sales for snacks in North America.
Analyzing sales for snacks in North America.
Meet Cindy, a first-of-its-kind artificial intelligence-enabled digital assistant for grocery and hard goods retail that is transforming the way retailers work.
Sales in North America are $398 million, up by 0.3%.
Cindy processes billions of bits of data in real time, mining trends and anomalies to serve up answers in seconds that would take a team of analysts hours, days, or even weeks. But Cindy is so much more than the fastest number cruncher around. Retailers have lots of complex questions. Many go unanswered, or even worse, are answered incorrectly or inconsistently. Okay, Cindy, how are sales for cookies in Denver?
Analyzing sales for cookies in Denver.
Cindy has highly advanced contextual intelligence. She can understand your questions, analyze the massive underlying data, extract the insights, and choose the most effective, easy-to-understand visualizations.
Cookie sales in Denver are down by 0.5%.
Okay, Cindy, what are people buying instead of cookies?
There is significant movement from cookies to rice cakes.
But Cindy doesn't just answer complex questions. She uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to understand cause and recommend the best actions to take. Cindy quickly sees your challenges as opportunities, even if you can't at first.
Chocolate cookie sales remain strong.
That means there might be an opportunity for promoting chocolate-covered rice cakes. This is only a snapshot of what Cindy can do for you. In short, Cindy does what is humanly impossible, helping you make more intelligent business decisions that drive sales, profit, and customer loyalty. So next time you need fast answers and smart recommendations, why not ask Cindy and have a conversation that matters? Thanks, Cindy.
You're welcome.
So this is, we believe, a first of its kind for the retail industry, where you're actually being able to take information that is buried in your organization and have a digital answer instantaneously at your fingertips, rather than sending a question to a set of analysts and waiting for a week or waiting for 10 days to get the answer. So we're very excited about it. And here's some of the questions that Cindy can answer today. We're actually continuing to increase the intelligence of Cindy. We will be delivering an answer around competitive prices, trying to understand more of the omni-channel shopping behavior, assortments, and inventory in the coming months. Now, if we turn from being able to give you real-time answers to some very deep understanding of what's happening to a biggest part of the money that you guys all spend, which is your trade promotion money and your revenue management capability. We've actually been able to put in 3 different analytical AI modules into a promotion planning and promotion forecasting capability, where we're getting forecast accuracies of promotions above 90%. And we're able to actually create promotion recommendations by analyzing millions of combinations of promotion mechanics and promotion types that we should be able to use. And the initial results are very, very exciting. We've been able to actually take a few categories for one of our largest retailers and look at what the manual proposed plans of category for promotions would be, and ask our promotion recommendations to work against it. And we're seeing about 2 to 3x. In this particular case, the original plans and what they were able to do was about a $3 million net increase, and we were able to recommend promotions would actually take the same spend, same discount spend, and be able to get $11 million. Now, we're actually testing this in market right now, but even if it's $5 million instead of $3 million, it's a major breakthrough in promotional effectiveness. Then we talk a little bit about what we do in terms of making this AI model help target much more relevant offers for your customers. Clearly we're moving into where we actually can intercept customers at moments where they're making decisions about buying. And for that, we're able to actually now use our AI model for personalized marketing and start really understanding each customer very deeply in terms of what the eligibility is and the redemption propensity is for that particular customer for a particular offer that we might be able to make to them. And then we actually understand when they shop, where they shop, and when we should be able to actually give them the offer so that it stays very focused in their mind when they're actually shopping. And then finally, create the redemption cases where the offer is so relevant that over time the AI model learns about each customer and their redemption rate continues to go up, and the amount of discount that you need to give them goes down because they feel like they really know that you really know them well enough. So this is a very exciting development where we can continue to increase redemption rate and continue to reduce the total amount of discount you need to bring that customer back to your shop. Another area where we have actually put some very good thought about taking customer intelligence to make decisions is in the area of assortments. We show here a variety of different kinds of data about customers and how they make decisions about what they want to buy and what they expect in your store or what they expect online. The interesting consequence that's coming out of this AI model is that the whole concept of category resets, which has been traditionally set up with a calendar, that, it is March, it may be time for resetting your beer category, or if it's, April, it's time to reset some other category. We're going from there to where actually we're advising what is the rationale for wanting a reset, and taking customer data, taking market data, and saying it is really only worthwhile resetting this category at this particular point of time. And once you make that decision, we have an optimization program that allows us to take all of these metrics and preferences and drive localized assortment and curated assortments for every format in your store, so that you can actually ask for a certain amount of category growth that you want to have out of your reset capability. And with that, you will be able to actually see the growth with that. And we're actually creating a collaboration between suppliers and retailers in terms of making that reset so that you can actually realize the kind of growth we're showing here. We've been able to show 3% to 4% growth in category resets with this kind of capability. And finally, it's not worth doing your promotions and your assortments if you don't have product on your shelf. So we've actually created a very exciting neural network-based demand forecasting algorithm that understands exactly what you want to do in terms of your promotions, in terms of what the impact of social and weather and other things are on the buying patterns, and really focus on getting you demand forecasts that are accurate enough so that you can actually deliver on time in full and not get penalized by retailers like Walmart. This is a capability that's being tried with lots of different retailers right now, and we're also starting to provide this on-time in full allocation capability to the brands today to be able to have your supply chain really work perfectly in reducing any out of stocks. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of other capabilities that I think are very exciting. They're in the news a lot. How many people have actually got something going on with blockchain? Anybody? Okay. There's a lot of talk in blockchain. The question is it real? What is it that you can actually get out of it? Why is it important to you? And what can it do? The amount of investment in terms of both venture investment and actual large company investments like Walmart and IBM have increased in this area, to about something in the order of $5 to $6 billion a year. There is a major movement to actually make this a next generation efficiency for retail. So for those of you who have not been keeping up with blockchain, there are 8 different things that actually are associated with blockchain. Most people immediately associate it with cryptocurrency like Bitcoins. Well, that's a very small part of what you should be able to get with blockchains. What it actually allows you to do is to have reliable transactions, and actually use the internet power to create autonomous agents to look at what transactions are happening. It allows you to actually enforce contracts that you've been actually creating with retailers and brands. And it allows you to actually create this distributed ledger, of course, settlements with electronic currency. And it actually creates a reputation system that you can work without having third parties involved in here. Why is this important for the food retail industry? And where do you think it's going to come out most interestingly going forward? There's a lot of interest in provenance and in looking at the source of food, the ability to actually make sure that the food or the ingredients that you have in your product, you can trace it. Traceability, provenance are the tip of the iceberg on blockchain. What's very exciting here is the ability to actually create the total system where transactions happen between you and the retailer, where the transactions don't need people to actually intervene in there. Now, where do you think it's going to be the most likely to actually have blockchain come out? We've been studying both what's happening in Europe, in US, and in China. And my personal feeling is that the most likely area where we believe blockchain is going to be very, quickly installed is in China. Why is that? Because of two major factors. One is the electronic payment. China, thanks to WeChat, is at 85 to 90% right now of transactions. Okay, so whether or not you do cryptocurrency, you're doing electronic transactions. Second is that Chinese manufacturing is fine-grained. There is hundreds of thousands of companies that are involved, and most of them do not have a legacy ERP system or a legacy IT system that has to be overcome to be able to get blockchain. And the third thing is that the infrastructure of electronic commerce is growing rapidly thanks to Alibaba, thanks to Baidu and those people. So we believe that the next round of efficiency is most likely is going to come out of China, which makes them even more dangerous in terms of efficiency in manufacture and efficiency in transactions. So we'll be watching this space very carefully. I think it's an area where the next round of efficiency from all of the different use cases that are being put together is likely to show up. So this is one that I believe is worth watching. I believe this is a 2-year horizon, not a 10-year horizon, to see this transition come in. Finally, the next technology that I believe has real power in changing the way you work is virtual reality. Virtual reality has been around in terms of, actually a technology for a long time. The cost of virtual reality is going down because it's really coming into the consumer world. Where we see virtual reality is to be able to actually look at two kinds of things in here. The first thing I'll talk about is how do your stores look and what do you get out of the capital that you spend in remodeling the stores. I've told you a lot of different trends that says that a supermarket, structure needs to be changed, from the prepared foods, need for product curation, online based consumption, local food, and competitive pressures. So we put together a conceptual view of a retail supermarket, reimagination or restructuring, remodeling that it drives thought processes, not necessarily exactly what is going to happen. So let me take you through that, and then we'll tell you about what we're going to be able to do to help you in remodeling your stores.
Consumer behavior is changing, and the supermarket needs to change with them. At Symphony, we have been analyzing the latest trends in grocery throughout the USA and Europe, and believe there are key shifts that have changed consumer behavior. Pantry loading trips are declining, and online or quick trips are increasing. Technology and in-store retail are joining forces to carve out traditional center store purchases to disrupt the whole industry. Time starvation has given rise to prepared food and grab-and-go options. And discounters are challenging traditional grocery stores, bringing more than just discounted prices. There is so much change happening that current supermarket formats need to create innovative, customer-centric shopping experiences, which meet the needs and demands of the modern shopper. That's why we at Symphony have created Supermarket 2020, a vision for new grocery stores and how we might experience grocery shopping in the future. current store layouts are no longer meeting the demands of today's customers. We think the store of the future will have a host of customer-centric features. Multi-channel and convenience shopping have given way to a massive reimagination of the center store. New click and collect areas are increasing in-store and via drive-thru. And we see a pharmacy located near click and collect for fast collection. Specialty food court and in-store dining and food-to-go offers provide convenience for time-starved shoppers. And they can shop click and collect items while they dine. With the growth in click and collect, there will be a reduction in the traditional grocery area, while engagement is increased with an updated, fresh, and modern market feel to traditional departments. Third-party concessions have a walk-through access into the main store. And strip mall tenants in small formats that are easy to navigate offset property costs and give convenient walk-through access to the main store. There is a new focus on grab-and-go areas to rationalize options for customers. And regional sourced suppliers provide natural produce and meat. We see a farmer's market in each store where ingredients are paired together throughout the department, and QR code technology provides instant information and recipes about the product. The redesigned center store features in-store quick service and deli food restaurants, offering healthy eat-in options and pre-packed meal kits. Food court-style seating encourages customers to dine in and consume their food-to-go purchases immediately. Touchscreens on each table allow customers to engage with new products online, scan their loyalty card, and search for new offers and promotions as they eat. There is an immediate click and collect service, in-store pickup and delivery, and a special product aisle with assortment changing twice a week to surprise and delight the customer. Checkouts have changed too, with 80% being self-checkout units and only 20% traditional man-belted checkouts. Finally, to collect our click and collect purchases, the store will feature drive-through options for smaller orders and a loading dock for larger items. Supermarket 2020, a vision for customer-centric grocery shopping.
This is a meant for thought-provoking exercises. Not every supermarket is going to transform this way, but we see a lot of retailers spending hundreds of $millions in remodeling stores to try and reach some of these trends or all of these trends. So one of the things we've actually done is we are now offering a virtual reality-based store remodel and analytics, where we allow we ask customers to look at multiple different proposed changes in the store. And the model is very interesting because in most cases, I think either when I look at both CPG companies as well as retailers, you've invested either in big model stores or even in virtual stores. You've invested in an infrastructure where you're asking people to come to actually make the analysis. We're actually taking this virtual reality analysis to your store that you're going to remodel, and we're getting information directly from the customers who are coming to this store. With that kind of information, we are being able to do analytics about what the customer reaction is, what their path through the store is, what their eye tracking analysis is, what their emotional or EEG scores is in terms of how excited they are about or how happy they're about this particular capability, which is allows you to get real data from real customers, where we have portability of actual virtual reality to the customer rather than having the customers selectively come to a place where you've spent some money. We're getting a lot of excitement about this, and the final thing we're doing with virtual and augmented reality is using it to create a lot more exciting product innovation feedback for new products, whether you're using doing a refresh or a reframe or even a breakthrough product to get hundreds of thousands of people to tell you what they think about it before you spend the money. So with that, thank you very much for listening. We've gone through, given you a tour of technology weapons that you can actually create to fight against online giants and deep discounters with Customer 360, use of artificial intelligence to help you make really smart decisions, the coming era of blockchain, and the use of virtual reality to make your dollars go further. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take questions. Yeah. So, the question is, how do you see logistics cost impacting this question of food delivery? We're seeing some very interesting trade-offs being made by customers in terms of food delivery, okay? The trend towards not wanting to cook, people are willing to spend some extra money for food being delivered rather than going and picking up groceries and cooking themselves. We're also seeing that the trend, especially in millennials, is that they're willing to actually make that trade-off and pay a little bit more. Whereas when they come to the store, they expect really low prices, okay? So it's a dichotomy in here, but the convenience is something they're willing to pay for, and the avoidance of time is something they're willing to pay for, which is very different from a overall big basket food delivery, which they're not all that excited about paying for. Okay, so that's around the world, and all the food delivery companies. If you look at the companies that we talked about in the U.S., there's similar companies in Australia, similar companies here, similar companies in Europe. They're not only growing, but they're actually very profitable. So clearly, that model is working, and that the delta cost is working. If you look at it from the point of view of what has existed in this area before, at least in the U.S., if you look at the pizza delivery people, okay, they're talking about delivering a $10 pizza. They're using a part of the population to deliver that hasn't really, been asking for a lot of money, so that they're essentially mostly working on tips, okay? So that model has been there for a long time. Today, with Uber drivers are actually using this as an alternative trip. Instead of picking a passenger and taking this somewhere, you pick the food and take it somewhere, or pick the food basket and take it somewhere. So the infrastructure for doing this has really expanded from where it was before. So a combination of people not minding to pay for it because of convenience and time saving, and the infrastructure that allows you to do this is really pushing the growth of this kind of business. Okay. Yep. Can you?
You mentioned Amazon and Alibaba in your presentation, and do you see any difference of AI technology application of US and China retailers to drive their sales?
Yeah, so the question is, I mentioned both Amazon and Alibaba. Do I see differences in technology between the US and China? Is that the question? Okay. So interestingly enough, it's not so much about the difference in technology. My view is that the underlying artificial intelligence technology, I see Amazon still ahead. But the main thing that I'm seeing that is very different is that after whatever it is, 4 or 5 years or 6 years of Apple Pay and other kind of electronic payments for non-online but in-store transactions. The Chinese in-store transactions, or physical transactions, have gone electronic to about 80–85%, not because of just Alibaba, but because of WeChat, for example, being a big player in there. So the combination of the two gives Alibaba more of an opportunity to become an omni-channel delivery. Okay, so in Amazon's case, the first omni-channel delivery in food grocery they entered into was when they bought Whole Foods, and that's an experiment with about 450 stores. Okay, we're seeing a lot more of those kinds of omni-channel attempts from Alibaba, and I'm happy to talk to you a little bit more about it. So there are two different angles from here, but both of them have invested in technology a lot more than food brick and mortar retailers. Okay, if there are no more questions, thank you very much for coming. Appreciate you listening to my story. Thank you.